Hello and welcome to the Red Mounds of Redmond, Utah. This is a pretty cool place. I've been coming here since I was, 6 or 7 years old, but I mean, it doesn't look like much maybe. In fact, maybe it looks like a junkyard a little bit. There is a lot of garbage out here and people ride their bikes around and tear up the hillsides pretty extensively out here. But this is kind of a unique spot, a very unique spot actually. This is the South Mound, and you can't see the farthest one, but this is the middle mound. So there's 3 mounds here. What I find really well, there's technically more than 3 mounds. There's these smaller satellite hillsides here, but nonetheless, this whole area has been pretty extensively excavated. And here you can see it's an actual open pit quarry. It's not very big, but a lot of earth was moved out of this area. And there's deep gouges out of the hillside where material's been removed. Now, the primary component of this material here is, well, this is a kind of a low quality, low grade, but this is all bentonite clay. And obviously there's rocks and sand and other stuff in here. There's much purer deposits of this bentonite throughout this area right here. And some of the more interesting things about this are beyond the bentonite itself, which is a medicinal, well, it has a lot of medicinal purposes and practical purposes for building ponds and plugging wells and things of that nature. But as we get a little more into the heart of this here, you start seeing this more white to gray colored bentonite. So this is a much purer material right here. And this stuff can definitely be reconstituted and purified a little bit more. But all this right here is just pretty much pure bentonite, and this is actually some of the purest bentonite in the world. So this is, I'm not sure who historically owned it, but not too far north of us here, there's a big salt mine they call the Redmond salt mine, or the real salt mine. And they also mine this bentonite and sell it under the same brand, or the same company name. But, again, besides the bentonite itself, here's an example of what I'm about to show you. And it's not a very good example. I don't know if I can get a clear picture of it. But what this is a banded travertine, or a calcite, calcium carbonate. But it forms in layers, and I'll show you some better examples. But we have a lot of these different bands of travertine, and it's beautiful stuff. Some of it has these little pockets of calcite and quartz crystals, little vugs full of calcite there, and just a wide variety of colors. Pretty much every color in the rainbow can be found in the rocks out here. And you'll notice right here, I'm walking on a dried up clay pit. So, this was obviously a bigger hole that is slowly filled in with clay and sediment. And usually this is full of water. But if you tried to walk out into the middle of that, you might find yourself stuck in it like quicksand. It's pretty nasty stuff. You can see how my feet are sinking into that. You don't want to walk out in the middle of there, I promise you. And you don't even want to try and drive it. You'll just get a 6-foot layer of mud stuck to your tires, and you'll just be spinning and going nowhere. So anyway, I'm slowly bringing you up over to here because there's something rather interesting about it. The mineralization of the rock, or the hillside here. Again, most of what we're walking on here is just primarily bentonite, which is a volcanic ash, which there's a couple of sources for this volcanic ash, potentially, including the San Rafael Swell and the Cedar Springs supervolcano. But, you know, we're in the middle of a geological hotspot right here in Sevier County. But now, this is pretty much where I wanted to go. I'm sorry if I'm all over the place, but I want to make this video kind of quick. But looking up this hill right here, well, this is a ramp, obviously, that trucks would have used to get down into the pit and work and mine this area. So this is like a ramp that they cut down, or a bench. But you can tell that this was the actual, like, this isn't like built up from their waste dumps or overburden. This is actually just the contour that they cut out of the hill. And I know this because I can still see veins, these harder outcroppings, which I'll show you a little farther up how silicated and mineralized these veins are. And this is kind of the bottom of it where I can see it, but no doubt this vein actually runs all the way down through and probably even a mile away from this place. And here's another parallel vein to it. I mean, you can see this brownish red mineralization to it, little bits of iron. In fact, if I come down here just a little bit into these washes, these small cutouts, and come right down here where the water starts to flow out, you can actually see that there's black sands, so evidence of iron. That, you know, you can find this black sand all over the hill here, which the presence of iron is pretty obvious. You know, this is all deeply saturated with iron all the way up to the top of the hill there. And then some of these travertine and silicated agate materials. There's a strong presence of iron throughout every bit of the rock out here. The clay, it's a little bit less obvious, but this clay pretty much contains every trace element you can imagine. And we're talking in, you know, trace amounts, but it's there. And so this bentonite is actually sometimes used as a mineral supplement. But yeah, here you can see how this is kind of like a moss agate or something of the sort. There's a lot of different colors. I'm hoping you can see that okay. But the coloration in there, you know, yellow, white, red. There's, you know, dark black, almost transparent. You know, there's a wide variety of colors and interesting patterns. It's really quite beautiful stuff. It's just hard to find good high quality pieces that you can cut, but I have found a few nice pieces of the sort. And again, this vein, multiple veins actually. So there's this vein here, right here, and it kind of comes and goes, you know, it appears and disappears. There's like a little piece of some nice moss agate there. That's part of the vein. This is all part of the outcropping sticking out of the ground here. It goes all the way down. And again, looking back up, our vein is right here. And then there's another, you can see a dark line there. That dark line, that dark line is part of the vein, and it comes down to right here.